bullish है.
MTM स्टॉप लॉस हिट हो गया ना आपका.
किसका?
आपका.
मेरा स्टॉप लॉस बिल्कुल
नहीं. आपका स्टॉप लॉस 60% नीचे है.
मेरा स्टॉप लॉस तो हिट ही नहीं हुआ क्योंकि इट्स बाय ऑन डिप्स फॉर मी.
चलो ठीक है, वी आर लाइव.
अभी लाइव?
Yes, वी आर.
बताइए. Harsh will.
Okay, so the Nifty down what 3.5%, nearly 3.25%, much better than actually in terms of global indices. When we're looking at other global benchmarks, we're doing much better than them. US was down 5.5 on Friday, followed by another couple of percent down on the futures as we speak. So this doesn't look as bad as how some of the other markets have done. That's point number one. Second is maybe some bit of positivity also from a perspective that we hit lows of nearly 5% intraday, and thereafter there's been some bit of recovery, some bit, and a lot of it came from IT actually.
We have recovered 5.6% from the lows.
Correct. And therefore IT was the one big surprise, you know, in that sense in trade today. But metals continue to languish. Banking largely in line with how the Nifty 50 moved. And mid cap and small cap also, there's plenty of pain. So the breadth of the market was very, very tough. And essentially, you could see at least that we've somewhere seen at least some bit of pain to start off with regard to tariffs.
You know, if I look at the FNO part of it, 22,000 is where the support is building up now. Means we've seen a lot of unwinding happening at 22,500 today, and 22,000 is where a lot of puts have been is building up. So that's a big thing. And on the higher end, from the call side, is 22,700. So the range is between 22,000 to 22,700. As we speak, that's what the options are saying. And a lot of unwinding that has happened is between them and especially 22,500, which was supposed to be a good support coming in. It's it went through, and we have seen a lot of unwinding happening there.
But sir, we've done 300 points from the day's low. I mean,
true.
And therefore the bounce back has been quite sharp in that sense.
Yeah, it's a lot of short covering as well, which has come in, especially in the IT stocks and some of the frontline. We've seen many of the frontline stocks recovering from the highs. What is phenomenal is the kind of gain that we've seen in Nifty IT, 5.6% gain from the lows. That's huge in the sense. Do you think IT is now bottoming out in that sense?
Yeah, for almost everything, my answer is right now it's difficult to say. And I also think it's prudent not to try and think that this is very similar to the fall that happened in March, wherein we hit 22,000 and bottomed out. We didn't have, except for FI selling and FI is going to China, we didn't have economic reasons, valid economic reasons to be worried about. Right now, there are valid economic reasons. I think. So we were talking to Nilesh Shah today, viewers, and I think if we can, we should try and drop that interview, or at least viewers go in and at some point of time will be there on YouTube. Nilesh Shah of Envision. We just spoke to both the Nilesh Shahs today. I think Nilesh Shah of Envision made a very, very pertinent point, which is that a lot of people say that COVID में भी इतना बुरा नहीं था और COVID में इतना जल्दी हो गया था. The difference is all global central banks came together, did a series of rate cuts, and propped up the economy. There was no inter-country animosity per se. Right now, what you are seeing is
coordinated central bank action that came in together.
Yes, there is no coordinated central bank action, and if anything, there are countries pitted against each other, right?
No, yeah.
Because of these tariffs. And remember, right now it's US versus everybody. Once the Chinese goods, Vietnamese goods, other goods which are excess capacity go into other countries and other countries raise the tariff wars, it is every country against each other. This is not as simple. Now, are the markets pricing in? I don't think you and I or Hersh or anybody else would know the answer that this is where the markets are pricing it in, because how the cookie crumbles is not known. It is every day as it comes. For all you know, if Donald Trump comes today and says that I'm doing this extension, blah, blah, etc., or some countries have come, etc., can it end today? Yes. Can today's bottom be the bottom? Yes. If it doesn't happen, 7 दिन और ऐसे रहा, राइट?
7 दिन नहीं, 2 दिन की बात है, 9 तारीख से हो रहा है ना,
और टैरिफ्स आ गए और कुछ वो नहीं आया, देन यू विल देन फील के बॉस even 22,000 which is where circa we've closed was not the level to buy. Wait for 21 or 20 half, what have you, because we've established on the valuation front, Sajeet, at 20,000 we'll be at 16 times FY27. 1 year forward, which is the current year forward, will not be 16 times as well. Will probably be 16.5 or 16.8 times.
We assume that the EPS amount,
That too, without EPS cuts.
With EPS cuts. Assume there's an EPS cut, then we're again back to 18, 19 times actually.
हो गया ना? तो why? That's my limited question. See, I'm a bull at heart. Inherently, I'm a bull at heart. Most times I'm bullish and I go wrong because I just can't accept कि नहीं market ऊपर नहीं जाएगा. But something looks seriously wrong right now because of the economic conditions, and you got to respect that. That let's wait for a sustainable bounce to come. You don't have to catch the bottom.
And
वो आपका SIP कर रहा है. Sorry, last point. आपका जो SIP चालू है म्यूचुअल फंड में, वो बॉटम कैच कर लेगा. आप जो टैक्टिकल एलोकेशन कर रहे हो, क्यों कर रहे हो? Wait, na. Buy it 5% more expensive.
So what you're suggesting is that you should now look at commentaries coming from respective governments saying what exactly they think. So there are only few governments which have come out and spoke. Singapore has come out and spoken.
Vietnam, Japan, Australia,
Taiwan has spoken about it, and I think and UK has spoken about it. I think. Saying that and US said we will look at it.
You is tough. He is acting tough.
It's very tough actually. So it's going to be a big. The dynamics is going to change, and luckily for us, for India, means while we are we are in advanced stage for a bilateral trade with the US, we are also in advanced stage of bilateral trade with EU and UK both.
Yeah.
So and for with Japan, South Korea and ASEAN region, we already have a free trade agreement with them. So
yeah, no, मैं बताऊँ, sorry, last point here. मैं बताऊँ, India is in a very sweet spot, okay, relative to the rest of the world. Very sweet spot. Things are much better, economically much better. Nilkant Mishra mentioned that economy is not worried, but market risk assets is, right? And the other point, people think 18 times. 18 times is not the bottom valuation. 18 times is the average valuation. We can trade below that as well. India could do much better. We could still trade below 18 times. Can happen, has happened in the past, will certainly happen sometime in the future. So can happen now as well. That's my limited point. Now, so these might be the famous last words. Market कल से ऊपर जाना चालू हो सकता है. मैं बोल रहा हूँ, राह देखो.
पर एक चीज है कि flows के बारे में अगर देखा जाए तो flows at this time are very uncertain. कहाँ जाएंगे flows basically, right? The point is that whether it's going to do fixed income or because bonds are rallying. If I'm not wrong, US 10-year is below 4%.
It is below 4%.
4%, right? And it's rallying. It's one of the best rallies which they have seen in recent times. The same is being said for the European bonds and other stuff. So money is moving away from equities to there.
Risk
off हो रहा है. और and for the first time, by the way, gold भी गिर रहा है actually. पहले equity गिर रहा था.
आज सुबह तो ऊपर गया था.
आज
so 1% ऊपर था, but after falling 3-4%, it went up 1%. ऐसा कुछ था.
Okay.
Over the weekend, I mean that's how
it went to almost 3,200. Is now just about 3,000, right?
3,100 plus था. अभी just 3,000 plus है. So around 3-4% ऊपर था.
So I'm just saying that the biggest issue which for us is the flows and the momentum. That flow is very uncertain. We know that domestic market, domestic mutual funds or domestic institutions will be positive. But Friday को भी negative थे, ऐसी बात नहीं है. पर आज जो हमने जो covering देखी है last half an hour में, VWAPs buying हो रही थी उधर उस समय. That's what I understand. कि जिस तरह से buying हुई है, जिस तरह से index has come up in the last half hour, it clearly shows that institutions were buying, and we were looking at some of the deployment of funds. Niraj, मार्च में सबसे lowest था 13,000 था मार्च में.
किसने पॉइंट किया था?
आप ही नहीं किया था पर आप 8,000 बोल रहे थे, पर वो मार्च
26 तक था. मार्च 26 तक
ये 28 तक का 13,000, पर 13,000 भी लोएस्ट है. तो अप्रैल में
shows right, डोमेस्टिक म्यूचुअल फंड ने भी ऐसा नहीं है कि ले दे के चलो ले लिया, नहीं किया ऐसा.
So they're sitting on high cash basically.
No, we are super sound as an economy. I mean, if you are thinking of the economic impact, I think that would be the case. But ये पता नहीं अभी.
But what is the impact of the petrol hike, petrol and diesel?
ये आपको बोलना है और बाद में हर्ष को बोलना है कि अगर 25 की जगह पर 50 हो गया तो बैंक्स पे क्या फर्क पड़ेगा. चलो अभी ये पहले आप ऑयल का बोल दो.
₹2 हाइक हुआ है.
2 साल से एक्साइज नहीं किया कुछ, अचानक एक्साइज पे ₹2 हाइक.
मेरे हिसाब से बताऊं क्या होगा. आई एम टेकिंग अ वाइल्ड गेस, आई मे बी रॉन्ग कंप्लीटली. 4 बजे हरदीप सिंह पुरी का प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस है, वहाँ पर वो बोलेगा कि ऑयल OMCs आर गोइंग टू अब्जॉर्ब दिस 2 रुपये हाइक
ऑफ कोर्स,
एंड देन नेट ऑन कंज्यूमर नहीं होगा, या 2 से ज़्यादा हो गया तो इट्स अ वेरी गुड साइन, बिकॉज इन्फ्लेशन के ऊपर थोड़ा सा कूलिंग इफेक्ट आएगा, बट 2 रुपये तो हो गया होगा, बिकॉज
हमारे पास तो इन्फ्लेशन है
नहीं, मतलब और कम हो जाएगा। तुम्हारे लिए 50 बेसिस पॉइंट का प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हैं ना तुम्हारे 50 बेसिस पॉइंट की प्रिपरेशन के लिए। बट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज दैट OMCs had based everything at $75. We are almost at $63 or $60, in that sense, Indian basket. तो वो जो डिफरेंशियल है, वो डिफरेंशियल जो है वो उसका बेनिफिट people have been talking about it, saying that when are going to pass it on to the customers. I think now it's going to come.
Okay, because we'll have to maybe cut to this thing as well. We should try and wrap soon. But
25-50 तुम बोल रहे थे ना, वो कौन सा
Hersh,
rate cut?
Hersh, I think you will have to leave.
Yeah.
Because you need to go. But आप जाइए, मैं बैंक्स पे ट्राई कर लेता हूँ अपने आप, ठीक है। Hersh will be missed here, but
Thank you, guys.
let's try and
कुछ आया कुछ
एक क्वेश्चन है, व्यू ऑन इंडसइंड बैंक एंड यस बैंक लॉन्ग टर्म। भैया फिलहाल let's leave it, let's take it tomorrow at 12:30.
Yes,
we'll talk about this when Hersh will be there. Hersh and Rucha will be there. So this is one thing. The other piece is what if the RBI were to cut rates?
we are talking about 25 is done. Is it going to be 50?
क्या लगता है?
हो सकता है,
मुझे नहीं लगता है।
it's
we are Fed commentary.
The Fed said that there needs to be a pill for every.
I know, but they've said that नहीं कर सकते।
You heard the Friday commentary,
RBI
right?
doesn't need to be in a rush ना। 25 कर लो अभी। और अगर इकोनॉमी इतना, see my other limited point is the economy of India is not in a tailspin.
It is
अगर
not.
इकोनॉमी ठीक है
अभी
तो क्यों 50 कर?
दो चीजें करनी है वहाँ पर। One, you know for a fact that your exports are going to suffer for the next 6 months. Everything is ceteris paribus, मतलब everything remaining constant, simple as that, as we speak today. So the government will have to come out with some kind of support or measures for exporters, which is there. Otherwise, your exporters are going to get hit very badly.
Can the monetary policy do something about it? No.
Liquidity or some,
But does it mean a rate cut? 50 basis points? Why?
वर्किंग कैपिटल कम करने के लिए, बिकॉज सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट स्मॉल मीडियम कंपनीज को, मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस को होगा इसका, और किसी को नहीं होगा। लार्जर कंपनीज आर सिटिंग ऑन गुड अमाउंट ऑफ कैश इन द बुक्स। द मीडियम एंड स्मॉल इंडस्ट्रीज विच आर एक्सपोर्टिंग, they have a big issue with respect to, they can't absorb the entire cost. They will have, and not the customers will absorb the entire cost. So they will need some kind of working capital support, or in that sense an export subsidy. So so lower interest rate will help them in that. That's my way, my theory of it.
बराबर.
So that's something which needs to be looked at.
Okay. Put it in points. Cool.
But interesting half an hour, I said. I was surprised at the way it just came back.
For short covering.
Short covering था.
Profit booking onto shorts maybe. Let's see.
IT was.
Jim O'Neill, by the way, Jim O'Neill said that he would be very surprised. Last point here, that he would be very surprised if the US were not to give out some concessionary statements or concessions or peacemaking statements. I don't remember the exact term. In the next few hours. This was at 1:45 p.m. That he said कि in next few घंटे में US आके बोलेगा कि नहीं यहाँ पे थोड़ा ये कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पे थोड़ा वो कर रहे हैं, because countries have come.
Yesterday, what Trump said in addressing the reporters in
last 1 minute, Sajeet.
Air Force One, he basically said that I know countries want to come and discuss this thing with me, but it will be on my terms, basically. That saying that they will have to give us the stuff, otherwise we will not budge. So he's playing a hard ball. I'm not sure if domestic, because over the weekend you had a lot of protests which was happening in various cities in the US. Whether that is going to push him to take a softer stand or not, that I don't know. But as we speak now, he is adamant that he wants to get a pie of it. Simple.
Let's see. So this is interesting. Now, very, very quickly, guys, last 30 seconds from Sajeet and me before we wrap up, because Hardeep Singh Puri ji's presser might be there.
Yeah.
But last 30 seconds, my limited view, difficult to predict the markets right now. Indian economy much better placed than others, but that doesn't mean that the markets cannot correct more. Very crucial earnings commentary likely coming up from the next few days. All my eyes, amongst everything else, all my eyes on Sajeet Manghat's interview with the TCS management.
That's on 11th you will get in the morning.
11th morning. I think that's probably one of the most important conversations. Sajeet, I'm really looking forward to that. Now, quick, your 30 seconds.
I think that people should keep the dry powder ready, because I think IT may have bottomed out in
Non-IT?
Non-IT, I think there has been enough correction, and we are being very pessimistic with respect to the earnings. Means I know I myself have said that earnings, what valuations are as compared to earnings are much higher, but we have fallen 15-20% after that. So we are not in a doomsday scenario where domestic companies are not going to grow. They're going to grow like a trend. They were growing at 50%, they grew at 28%, and market is disappointed. So that reset of expectation has to happen, and based on that, the valuation will come down. So अभी trend FY26 74 times में जा रहा है, 74 times शायद उसका bottom hoga.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Yeah, let's wait and watch. But we'll be there tomorrow at 12:30, of course, to talk about the banking thing as well as IT, by the way. Rucha might join in. But for now, from Sajeet and me and Hersh and the team that put this live together, thank you so much for tuning in. Just thought we'll do a small jig to give you a sense of how the day was.
Hello? Yeah? Hello?